I'm going to put on my boogie shoes with the one and only Clay Henry joining us here, publisher, editor, Hawgs Illustrated. You can listen to him on the Morning Rush a couple times a week with us every Wednesday. Clay, I appreciate you actually hopping on with us today instead of going sledding because you guys have some snow up there today.
Yeah, we don't have a sled. I think we have a snow dish, if you know what that is.
Like the Christmas vacation snow dish?
Yeah, I think we do. I saw that in the garage. I don't know where it came from, how it got here, but I think Jean Ann got it for maybe if there are ever kids here. We have a backyard, has a hill. Now, our road, which is now paved, it's a beautiful asphalt road. It goes straight down from our house and then goes back up. It would be the perfect sledding road. And it's if you see it, it's reminiscent of a ski jump. You know, it's down and up. And it would be a slow stop up by the mailbox. So it's about, I'd say 200 yards down and then 100 yards back up.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It would be just absolutely perfect. So, and it was gravel until this summer, but now it's asphalt, and it would be. If I was younger, I would test it, but I think it's deep ditches on both sides. So if my sledding was off a little bit, it could be bad. I mean, it would be.
Well, Clay, just be very cautious. Take it from me because last month when I visited the kids in Canada, 44-year-old, I was 43 then, had trouble walking for like a week and a half to 2 weeks due to a sledding incident.
What happened, Phil?
Yeah, I tried to go on a mogul and I ended up legit landing on my back. In my daughter's words, Dad, that hill destroyed you. She was right. So be careful.
Yep, I think I'll just stay in my four-wheel drive truck. And this isn't an incredible snowfall. It's about 1.5 inches to 2 inches, and it's about to turn to rain, so it will be gone quickly. But it really was pretty on the pine trees this morning. We've got pines and cedars all through our woods. Just to kind of paint the picture, we live in an area that's on a ridge above the Norfolk River. And there's 7 houses on about 300 acres. So it is, virgin forest, and we have 2 acres on the side of this, I think some people would call it a mountain, but I just call it a hill. It's Ozark hill country. And it's about 900 yards straight down to the river. And we moved here 3 years ago, and this is the first snow we've seen. And everybody says, yeah, it snows, every year. Well, it hasn't. And I don't think we're at a period that we just don't see snow as much in this part of Arkansas. I don't know why.
Yeah, and here it was. I remember when just before I moved to the state 20 years ago, you had this just incredibly destructive ice storm that I haven't seen anything like that since then. Hey, yeah, SmackDown, Clay sent us a text just before this segment started that I think this might be true. Might be true that the victory for Arkansas over Auburn with Sharife Cooper, not the first game of the season, of the conference schedule, but a win over Sharife Cooper's Auburn Tigers could be viewed as a signature win because they really are that much better with Cooper on the floor. And really, when you look at how Arkansas controlled him, kept the ball out of his hands, maybe that is a signature win, Clay. I think you might be right.
Well, I think that right now maybe it is. I think a month from now, when you look back and you see Auburn has won 8 out of 10 or whatever it is they're going to end up, since he returned in conference play, and you say, well, who beat him? Well, if you say, Arkansas is one of those teams, and Arkansas wants Auburn to go on a run. You pull for Cooper, and he is terrific. The good news is unless it's in the SEC tournament, that's the last time Arkansas will see him. He's a lottery pick. I mean, he is terrific. Enjoy watching him play. I mean, he has a burst. He doesn't ever make a wrong decision. He can shoot it. He can pass it. I was just listening to the commentators last night talk about what Bruce Pearl says about his passing. He said it's three-dimensional.
Yeah.
Well, I had to think about that a little bit, and then he threw I think 6 lob passes in the game, and 5 of them were for layups or dunks, and that's the three-dimensional part. I mean, he understands exactly where to put it, how to put it, when to release it, and he's a treat to watch. I don't really pull for Auburn, but I do enjoy watching a great talent.
And the way you describe that, it sounds like the way you would describe a great quarterback and the ability to just place the ball in the most perfect spot.
No question.
A couple of those touch passes Brady had in the first half last week, but you see that with Cooper. Now on this game today, it's a different deal. You're dealing with a team that's got a really good point guard again in Devontae Shuler, but Ole Miss has this. These 2 big guys on the inside in White and Buffin, and I'm just very interested to see, how much playing time Connor Vanover gets against these guys, how Justin Smith performs against them, because I got to take anything that happens against Vanderbilt right now with a grain of salt. Hogs looked good that day. Smith looked great. I'll buy in a lot more if it happens again tonight.
Yeah, Kermit Davis' team is going to play sound, fundamental, aggressive defense, denying the passing lane, overplaying the ball, and they're going to force turnovers. And I think when you look at this game, when it's all over, you'll say Jalen Tate, had X number of assists, points, and no turnovers, in Arkansas won. Or you'll say he couldn't get free from their guards, he had turnovers, wasn't effective. And of late, how this team has gone has been with Jalen Tate playing well. And he really struggled against LSU and at Alabama, those 2 road games. But he has played so well at home. And he played well at Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt, that's a category all to itself. I think you're going to look through the season and see a lot of teams playing well against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt looked like they had all rejects from the safety position from the Vanderbilt football team. They all were big-shouldered, heavy guys that didn't look like they belonged playing basketball. I mean, I'm talking, of course, their best player, their forward wasn't out there.
Clay Henry joining us here on halftime. Clay, when you look at this game tonight, I mean, you've seen how he's improved, and that being Justin Smith coming off the injury, and he slowly got more minutes and played even better each and every game. How important is this game tonight for maybe like the health of Justin Smith, but also his position on this team? Because I feel like this is the game where we're really going to see where he's at physically and heading into the backstretch of the SEC schedule.
Yeah, I think he's the only guy that they have that looks like him and plays like him, which I mean is a big forward. I wouldn't call him a power forward because he's 6'7". I mean, he's not any bigger than that. He might be 6'6", but he's got some skill. He is tough-minded. He can rebound. He can play defense, and he appears to have some leadership skills. So he is a important cog in this team. I mean, it's you take him off the floor, they don't have anybody that's like him. And so, but yeah, this is in home games, they're all must wins. And it's this isn't a great team, but it's a decent team. And if you're gonna get to the NCAA tournament, you got to win tonight. They get over 500 with a win tonight, and I think that is huge. And it's important for Arkansas to win. And every time that you see Kentucky play, you want them to lose because they're going to be right in that 4, 5, 6 spot in the SEC standings, and you don't want that. And their record is awful, but a lot of those early losses were road quadrant 1 losses that aren't going to hurt them.
Yeah.
It's you just watch how they start winning SEC games down the stretch and how They played well at Alabama. Didn't win, but you want those guys to lose every time that they get a chance to lose. Just pull for them to lose.
They certainly defended well. They just couldn't put the ball in the hoop. All right, Clay's with us for another segment. We did, but Auburn does have a self-imposed postseason ban for basketball, so they're not going to any tournament this season. That happened before Sharife Cooper was eligible,
Correct.
by the way. All right, more with Clay after this. Stay with us. I'm going to do some of the teams that are in off-season right now. Of course, baseball season's like 3 weeks away, so we'll do some baseball and football here with Clay. And speaking of baseball, Clay, guys, Clay has volunteered, at least he texted a few days ago this idea, to chauffeur me around the SEC.
How sweet of him. That's awesome.
Well, he just finished driving himself all around the SEC for football, so why not do it again for baseball? So does that mean, Clay, are you going to drive me all the way to Columbia, South Carolina, and Knoxville?
Well, I said I would. Are there any trout streams in any of those places? Because
I'm sure there's fish in every one of these locales. I don't know what kind of fish, but there will be fish.
Yeah. If there's trout stream close, I know there is in East Tennessee in the Smokies. I know there's brook trout there, and it would be a treat to do that. But I've kind of rethought that, and I think it would be way too much togetherness. You know, I'm a solo guy. I make road trips and made all these football trips, you know, all 5 of them by myself. And some of them I never stayed in hotels. I did just a lot of driving. My brother lives in Tuscaloosa, so I'd, roll into his house and he wanted to play golf, and we would do that. But, then I went to Gainesville via Tuscaloosa and went to Auburn via Tuscaloosa. There were no Arkansas games in Tuscaloosa this year, but that's where I kind of headquartered at his house at North River Country Club in Tuscaloosa.
The only thing that matters here,
I don't think it's good.
Who
would
gets
be
to
the
control
same.
the music? Who controls the music? You or me? When we're sitting there in the car together.
Well, one of the things I listen to, and this goes back to one of my passions, is that one of my presets is PGA Tour radio.
Ooh.
Okay, I think I'll drive myself this year.
Oh, okay.
You ain't gonna give him a shot. What's on the PGA Tour playlist?
Well, I mean, it's different shows, and
okay.
And I mean, if a tournament's going on, then it's live play-by-play from the golf course, which is really, really boring. I mean, radio play-by-play for golf. The only thing be worse would be tennis. Yeah.
See, I figured there'd be a lot of because I feel like we talked about this during the summer. It'd be a lot of George Strait in the old school country that we talked about.
I do that. Yeah, I do that.
See, I would be all over that if there was George Strait, Merle Haggard, Willie, all the old school country. Bring it on.
Once again, I think I'm going to have to drive myself.
This will surprise some of the young set because I'm old, but I have Apple Radio on my phone, so I can just call up a playlist of anything.
Uh-huh.
But then I also have downloaded every George Strait album there is. So I have a playlist that I've built myself that's George Strait, Joe Nichols,
yes,
Frank Sinatra, KC and the Sunshine Band, which y'all played some. The Boogie Shoes, I think, is KC, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
The intro of the previous segment. I don't know what that techno stuff that y'all played coming in just now.
That was Weird Al Yankovic. Okay, that was definitely not techno.
It? Yeah, you knew it. Okay, you knew it. Yeah, and there's some, there's some trumpet music. I used to play the trumpet, so there's some Al Hurt. There's some other stuff in some of my playlists, but it would be the George Strait stuff. We could make 8 hours out of what I've got on just all of his albums.
Gosh, and that would get us close to Knoxville, Clay. And here, all I want to do is I'll just play Weird Al, Beastie Boys, Tribe Called Quest, Pearl Jam, and David Bowie. So I don't know if you and I will be driving.
Pearl Jam I can do, yeah.
Okay. 1 out of 5. He could do 1 out of 5, guys.
Beastie Boys,
I really enjoyed.
That's a little bit out there for me, yeah.
Well, we teach each other things. We live and we learn, right? You listen to the Beastie.
You would hear, or you could just listen to my stories. Bo and Chuck have said, Clay, no stories today. I pop in for 3 hours. Just no stories. You just answer questions. Don't tell any stories.
I'm going to ask Chuck whether or not I need to get in your truck. That's the guy to ask because he's done that many times.
Oh, he would know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I trust what he says, so I'll ask him. I really enjoyed your piece on the pitching staff and Matt Hobbs and the new building that's going up in right field. I don't know if we even fully appreciate what the impact of that building in right field is going to have on the program moving forward. I don't know what it'll do to the program this year, so let's talk more about this year. And the team is scrimmaging this weekend, man. And one of the things that I think is so important, and Matt alluded to it, and we'll talk to him about this tomorrow, I think it's good and not difficult for Dave and Matt to figure this out, but it's like, he listed like 11 or 12 different pitchers that could be weekend starters for him at some point. Like, that's the conundrum they face. Nobody knows what slot anybody goes into right now, and I guess you'd say it all shakes out, but, man, the first 2-3 weeks, it's going to be I think there's going to be a lot of guys pitching in different situations, and the coach is seeing if it sticks.
Yeah, you have the bullpens and you see who can throw strikes there, and then you get out, and have some scrimmages and see who can throw strikes there, and see how all this velocity, kind of translates to being on the mound and having what Dave Jordan used to tell me is pitchability. Yeah. And his definition of pitchability is not the guy that wins the teddy bear at the county fair for throwing it 98. And I used to get tickled when he, they first put that radar thing up. That he hated that. Jordan did. And, it's like, my pitchers are turning around looking at the radar gun. He says they're trying to win the teddy bear. And, it's – and then, sometimes the radar gun is a little bit hot or something and it's not right. But, yeah, these guys can all win the teddy bear at the county fair, and we'll see who has the pitchability. And, Hobbs told me, he says, it's kind of easier than you think. He says you give them innings, and they determine if they get more innings. And he says it just kind of weeds itself down. And, boy, one thing, Dave Van Horn's not going to put a guy out there that doesn't throw strikes.
That's right.
In college baseball, if you look at walks, if you just look at walks, you don't have to look at runs. If you look in the box score and you just look at walks, the teams that have 6, 7, 8, they've got L's by their name. And the ones that have 2 and 3 walks in a game, they win. And that's the way it is in SEC too. It's not just it's so it'll be the guys that can throw strikes.
Yeah, I want to zero in briefly here on shortstop because I think Jalen Battles is going to be a hitter. I think he's going to hit really well. I don't know, if so much power that you saw from Casey Martin when Casey was on, or the ability to be so hot when Casey was on too. But I feel like there's going to be a noticeable improvement in shortstop play specifically.
Yeah.
And what that does to a team, it just stabilizes things so well.
Yeah, he's a 6'2", solid athlete that's got range. He's got a gun, doesn't make errors. He's a guy the scouts covet and think he looks like a big league shortstop. I don't know about the power, but I think he's got, like gap to gap type power. I don't know about home runs. So, but if you have, and I wrote another story that's in the magazine that we'll probably put online in the next day or two. The magazine was printed last week, and people should be getting it in the mail as we speak. Dave thinks that they've got, one of the better defensive teams, especially up the middle. When you think catcher Opitz, second base Robert Moore, then you got Battles at short, and then you have Christian Franklin.
And that's just up the middle. I think Jacob Nesbitt's a terrific third baseman, too.
And he's like another shortstop playing third base. And he said, we can put another shortstop and play first base. So he says, when you're talking about elite defenders, he said, we can have that all the way around. And they really like Brandon Webb, who's really, a center fielder, shortstop playing left field, and has figured out that position. So, and then they'll, I think right field will be maybe a platoon position. They've got several guys right and left that have chances to be high in the batting order at right field, and then go figure first base. I don't know. That's the one position that I don't have any clue. I don't think it'll be Matt Goodhart. I think he'll be the DH. It could be Brady Slavens, who was National Junior College Player of the Year. Has got, he could hit 20 home runs, and he's a lefty. Or it could be Cullen Smith, who transferred from East Tennessee State, set out last year and led them in hitting in the fall. And he's an infielder type, but he could play first base, kind of like a Trevor Ezell did for them.
Well, I think it's going to be a real strength.
You asked me about shortstop, though, didn't you?
I did, and you talked about shortstop, but it's like sometimes that's the forgotten aspect of baseball, and it was, to me, really.
Oh, it's the place where you start. Yeah.
Last year, it felt noticeable that Casey did not have a lot of confidence.
He's going to make 25 errors, wasn't he? Yeah,
that's right. And I felt like that also reflected to the rest of the team in some ways. When your shortstop is unsteady, your defense is unsteady. I think that's going to be a change this year.
I think Battles Moore will be among the nation's best double play combinations.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'll find some trout fishing for you somewhere across the SEC. If I'm going to do one trip, and I'll listen
we could do one trip and see how it goes. How's that?
All right, we'll see. All right, we'll schedule it sometime soon. Clay, thanks a lot, man. Have a great week.
Thanks, Clay.
You guys are always great. Thank you.
All right, we got the meat hooks coming up in a few minutes because we're on the downslope to the weekend. 877-377-6963 on halftime.